Hey everyone, welcome back to class. Today we're jumping right into a real brain teaser. It's honestly one of the most fascinating theological puzzles in the entire Bible. It's a question that has literally sparked debates for centuries. How in the world are we saved entirely by faith, but at the exact same time still called to strict obedience? I mean, it sounds a bit like a riddle, right? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down this puzzle of grace and works piece by piece so you can see exactly how perfectly the whole shebang fits together.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, what is justification? Second, Abraham's timeline of faith. Third, the action of faith. Fourth, true faith versus just pretending. And finally, number 5, the godly learner philosophy. All right, let's dive in. Starting with Section 1, what is justification? Understanding the foundation. Let's define the absolute most important word you'll need today to really grasp the beauty of God's grace. That word, of course, is justification. And what's kind of wild here is how simple the definition actually is when you boil it down. When we talk about justification, we're simply talking about how a person is made completely right with God. It means being declared righteous, not because you earned it, and definitely not because you never make mistakes, but simply by trusting in Jesus Christ. I want you to imagine standing in a courtroom. You're guilty, no question about it. But the judge stamps your record cleared entirely because someone else stepped in and paid your massive fine. That, my friends, is justification. And this verse brilliantly illustrates that exact point. This is Romans 3:24, and it shows us that justification is a free gift. Do you see that word freely in there? It's a massive deal. It means this is totally unearned by our own actions. See, Paul wrote this to correct a huge misunderstanding back then. People actually thought they had to follow specific physical rituals to be included in God's people. But Paul is shutting that down and making it crystal clear. You are justified freely by grace. Moving to Section 2. Abraham's timeline of faith, a case study in righteousness. To really lock in how this works in the real world, we need to put on our scholar hats and examine a historical case study. Take a look at this timeline and notice the sequence of events carefully, because the chronology here literally changes everything. Way back in the beginning, Abraham simply believed God and it was accounted to him for righteousness. Bam! That was the moment of justification. It was only years later that he received circumcision as an outward sign of the faith he already possessed. And it was decades after that when he faced his ultimate test, offering his son Isaac on the altar. So, what's the key takeaway? Righteousness came way before the outward sign. Abraham was counted as righteous entirely by faith long before he ever went through any physical rituals. And this proves, without a doubt, that God accepted him based on his belief alone. It's a huge lesson for us today, reminding us that checking off a list of outward rituals doesn't make us right with God. It is always that inward trust that counts first. All right, Section 3, the action of faith, Paul versus James. Now here is where we hit our theological puzzle for the day, because another part of the Bible seems to throw a massive curveball into this story.
Okay, so the Apostle Paul emphasizes in Romans that faith alone saves you. Got it. But then you flip over to the book of James, and James points out that Abraham's faith was proven complete when he took the massive action of offering his son Isaac on the altar. In fact, James specifically says Abraham was justified by his works in that moment. His faith and his actions were working totally in sync.
I mean, James 2:24 puts it incredibly bluntly. Look at this. You see then that a man is justified by works and not by faith only. So, how on earth do we solve this? How can Paul say we are justified freely by faith without works, while James is sitting here saying we're justified by works and not faith only? Are they just contradicting each other? Actually, no, not at all. Let's crack this puzzle. I want you to picture Abraham looking up at the stars, fully trusting God's impossible promise. That is the faith Paul is talking about, the faith that saves you. But then, picture Abraham stepping forward in obedience to climb that mountain with Isaac. That's the faith James is talking about. Think of it kind of like making a varsity sports team. The coach picks you by grace, right? You didn't earn your spot on the roster just by walking onto the field. But once you are on that team, you have to sweat, go to practice, and play hard to prove your dedication is actually real. Your effort doesn't buy your spot, but it absolutely proves you belong there. Which brings us to Section 4, true faith versus pretending, living it out. This is a crucial realization about what genuine saving faith actually looks like when you wake up on a Tuesday morning. It's about moving from theory to reality.
Listen, justification by faith definitely doesn't mean your faith gets to take a nap on the couch. Living faith is highly active. It responds to God, it confesses Jesus as Lord, it obeys His word, it walks with Him daily, and ultimately, it surrenders completely. True faith and obedience, they're just two sides of the exact same coin. If your faith doesn't change your actions, well, James is basically asking, is it really faith at all? So we end up with these two really important guardrails. First, there is zero room for boasting. Because God gives all the grace, the mercy, and the power, we literally can't brag about our good deeds as if we somehow earned our salvation. But second, there is absolutely no room for pretending. We can't fake it and pretend that a careless, disobedient life is somehow true faith. True faith bows down, surrenders to Jesus as Lord, and follows him in active, daily obedience.
And that brings us to our final stop, Section 5, the Godly Learner Philosophy. Education and biblical morality. Let's bring this right down to where you are sitting today. Why does a deep theological concept like justification actually matter to you as an 8th grade student?
It matters immensely because here at HeroesMart Academy, we intertwine biblical morality directly with your education. Why? Because education without morality can actually hurt. Think about it. Raw knowledge and intelligence without wisdom doesn't make you a better person. It can sometimes just make you a more capable sinner. Your growing knowledge and intelligence should always help you make wise, God-honoring choices rather than simply making you more capable of getting what you want in the world. The book of Romans, chapter 8, verses 6 through 7, teaches us that keeping the mind spiritually minded leads to life and peace. And that is our ultimate goal for you. We study complex concepts like justification so that your academic excellence is always anchored in God's truth. The goal isn't just to pack your brain with facts, it's to help you understand God's grace so deeply that it literally transforms your character from the inside out. That is what a spiritually minded education is all about. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a challenge. How will you use your knowledge today to honor God and make righteous choices? As you step out of this lesson and into the rest of your week, pursue academic excellence, for sure, but keep your mind totally centered on God, on truth, and on wisdom. Remember Abraham's example and let your faith go to work. Have an awesome week, and I'll see you in the next lesson.